What's up?
All right, hey guys. Just wanted to give everyone a couple minutes to kind of jump on here. So basically, the reason we put this together, I've got a daughter who's a junior in high school, and she came home and said, "Mom, they closed the gym, and I can't work out at school, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know when sports are going to start again." So I called the person I always call with all my sport questions, Chris over here, who I've been working with for over 10 years, definitely has a lot of knowledge that he's been able to share with me. So we kind of put this together and wanted to show you that this is not just like an obstacle that athletes are going to face, but this is actually a huge opportunity to kind of step back a little bit, work on some things that are going to get them greater gains on the other side. So let me just introduce Chris real quick. Hopefully you read his bio. It's too long to go through the whole thing, but
Yeah, right.
tons of education, tons of practice in training, and just working with athletes of all levels. Great source of knowledge. You may have to shut him up a couple times because he will tell you everything about everything, which is awesome. If you have questions afterwards, I promise you he can answer them. So Chris, you want to say hello?
Hello, everybody. Say I'm excited about doing this. We have so much to get out. I think the biggest takeaways today is you feel comfortable being able to attack your fitness wherever you are. I know we have college athletes on this. We have high school athletes. We have some coaches. We have some personal training clients of mine. I think this is going to be for everybody, but it is kind of something that we want to focus on the teens and some of the student athletes. So I think if we can, hit those bullet points, then we're awesome.
So the plan is we're going to give you some workout things that you can actually take with you, and we'll email out those in the PDF form. So you're going to walk away with some workout ideas. But the goal is really to empower you to be able to take that gym workout and turn it into a really effective at-home workout, as well as help you get ready for better gains when you get back to the gym, so that you can use this as an opportunity. So that's kind of where we're going to go. I want to start this off and just have Chris dig right into kind of what the hierarchy of training is, so you understand how we're going to be attacking this. So you want to show them that, Chris?
Okay, so first off, I'm going to start with, I'm going to share screen. So let me know that everyone can see that. Just kind of give me a thumbs up. Kate, are we good?
I can see it.
See it? Okay, good. So everybody in the world is going to have to get good at what we're doing here. So forgive us if we're not the best, but we're going to entertain you.
Please ask questions when we're going through. I'll try to catch those. Otherwise, we can do a Q&A at the end.
Okay, so this is kind of the intro page. What I want to kind of come across here or tell you about here is we'll spend more time about this later on, but I have to get this out first. So first off, everybody on this call, if there's one thing that you can take away from this, it's to do this. What can you do today to consider today a win? Okay? What is the one thing that if it goes down today and that happened, you would consider today a win? Something that you're in control of. So this whole win the day mindset is pick one thing that if that happened or you're going to make happen, you won the day. So the win the day is really the mindset and I guess where I want to take this whole talk. So if you take anything away, what can you do to win? All right, what's the health compass? The health compass is north, south, east, west. You can read that. I believe the health compass is a way of looking at your healthcare in the 4 crucial pillars of what healthcare is. Everyone's got to eat, everyone's got to move and exercise, everyone's got to rest and rejuvenate, and everyone, especially now, has got to take a look at their wellness. And I believe wellness is really your mindset, the way you're thinking right now. And that is very, very important as we go forward. So that's the health compass. We'll get into a little bit more detail there, but let's get right into the training stuff. Kate, am I staying on track?
You're good. Yeah. So let's go over that training hierarchy. Love this.
All right. So let me know if you can see that or want it a little bit bigger.
Looks good.
It looks good. Okay. So sweet. So check this out. Like I said, we'll get to the health compass later, and that's really what that top pyramid is. But this exercise training hierarchy works like this. Every single athlete has an opportunity right now to work on what I would consider their holes in their game. Okay. So if you're a strong athlete, what are you not? You might not be a very mobile athlete or a very flexible athlete. Here is an opportunity. So when we look at the training hierarchy on where you should be spending your time or what is the major priority, look down at the bottom, and that's where we want to build our foundation. For you coaches out there, you probably say it all the time. Practice the fundamentals, do the fundamentals. The fundamentals are the most important. We have to build off a base. We have to build off a solid platform. And that's really what this is. So mobility and flexibility and functional movement are your base. So if you have an injury right now, this is a perfect time to rehab it. If you are an athlete that is really skillful, but maybe not that coordinated, this is a real time to be practicing that, and vice versa. I mean, there's the one takeaway that I want you to think about is everybody here has something to work on and something to gain.
Can you explain just the difference between that mobility and the flexibility?
Oh, that's a good question. Mobility and flexibility, if I had to explain it in real plain, mobility is going to be what your joints can do, and flexibility is what your muscles and tissues can do. So together they work synergistically, but we got to have that balance. So for an example, it'd be, can you touch your toes? Can you do a deep squat? That's all forms of mobility, but tissue link had a lot to do with that as well. So we need to work on both. We need to work on range of motion of our joints, and we need to work on the extensibility and flexibility of our tissues. Awesome. And being stiff sometimes is a good thing. But in this case, if I were to get a brand new athletes, and I say, hey, make these guys great or make these girls great, the first thing we would want to do is a movement assessment where we actually look at where they're missing movement. We'd want to look at their best movements, and we would want to take a look at what they're not moving so well in. So that is going to be that bottom pillar, is we want to move well first and then move often.
Awesome. And what's the strength balance? Is that going to be, opposing muscles? Or are we talking about your left side versus your right side, or does that incorporate all of that together?
It's pretty much everything. So strength balance is something that I would say your push movements and your pull movements should be fairly equal. Your squat and your deadlift or your hinge movements should be fairly equal. You don't want to be the athlete that's got like a record-setting bench press but can only do one pull-up. So having strength balance is definitely something that I think every athlete should want to take a look at. And we have to start from the pillars. So the first step in training anybody is always going to be, you want to start with stability training. So stability training is, I can be at full range or I can be at any range and still have balance and control. So it's always going to be stability phase is first, then strength phase, then power phase. So if you look at this hierarchy again, and we look at the strength balance here, I mentioned over here on this other side, stability and symmetry. It makes absolute no sense to have, like I said before, like a really big bench press, but only be able to do one pull-up. I mean, there's just some symmetry that we need to have there. And in athletes, and I know where you're going to go next, is moving in 3 planes of motion. So not just doing all your training straight forward.
Yeah, well, we're going to kind of demo that in a second. So let's kind of skip through here real quick, because I think we got a good picture of kind of the different pieces of the training that they're going to need to incorporate. Obviously, power, your rest, depending on what your body needs to recover, working specifically on sports skill, whatever you can do within. We just got locked down, I guess, as of Friday here. So I don't know how much outside time we're going to be allowed yet. They haven't told us. Whatever you can do in your living room, maybe, or your backyard, if you've got one. So we'll kind of come back to this. Why don't you pop out of your screen for a second? Or you can actually go into that movement practice. So when you're building your workout, and we're going to give you a sample of what this can look like, but we want to empower you to be able to build a complete workout yourself with the equipment that you might have in your house, or just things that you prefer to do. And I think, you know, what Chris is going to tell you is really that the exact exercise you use isn't as important as having the right ones incorporated that have the right movements in there. And so what we want to look at are the 7 fundamental movement patterns, and make sure that you're working out with each of those patterns, because this is for performance. And that's, again, where Chris is going to touch on that, those planes of motion, and how we often always train in that one sagittal plane. So why don't you go ahead and go through these just real quick, what the 7 fundamental movement patterns are.
Yeah,
you can show us too if you feel like standing up.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. So I'll stand up in a second here. So the movement practice is, so the first quote there is, you know, have a practice mindset versus having a workout mindset. So anytime that you're going to do training, what we're really doing is practicing movement. I think so many athletes get themselves into, I just want to get the fastest time, or I want to get the task complete. But if you look at it a little bit different, it's like, okay, I not only want to get task complete or the fastest time, but how well did I do it? What was my quality of movement and how I did it? That's going to last the test of time, because if you're always trying to do it the heaviest, or the fastest, or the most repetitions or something like that, you're going to get sloppy. And as a young athlete, I would much rather you do it perfect, or practice perfect, or, you know, try to be perfect. That's going to last so much longer than having a mindset of just, it's a workout. So I want you to have the practice mindset workout. For you adults out there, it's, you went to practice when you were a kid, and then you maybe went on to college and you still went to practice, but after your athletic career, you stopped practicing and you went to only workouts. So what I want to do is invite you back to the practice mindset. It doesn't matter what coach is going to have me do in that day. I'm practicing movement. So I want to set that up for everybody to understand first, is really just have this practice mindset. What is your movement practice? So that leads me into, what are the 7 fundamental movement patterns? So I'm all about the education, and Kate, stop me if I'm rambling on, but everybody that was on this call was a baby at one point, and you didn't even know a word yet. All right, little baby Jesus didn't even know a word yet, and you were sitting there in the cradle, and you found a way to roll. So rolling was your first movement. Okay, then you found a way to crawl. Then you found a way to actually, and by the way, the crawl was actually done on the shoulders first. Then it was done in all fours. Then you finally got up to the squat pattern. That was the first time you stood up for the first time off the ground, was the squat pattern. So that's a fundamental movement. So when we look at squatting, we look at, that's maximum knee flexion and maximum hip flexion. So any variation of just going down and up. Now we can talk about single leg and all that, but squatting is a fundamental movement, and it has to be in almost every single program. Now athletes, on the other hand, they should be doing most of their squatting in a single leg stance. I know that a lot of people like to do back squats, front squats, goblet squats, stuff like that, but think about it like this. What sport is played hopping around bilateral in that stance? It's always 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. You're taking these steps, right? So it's a series of squatting. So we always want to train single leg squats for sure. Make sure that's in the program. Good opportunity to do that. Let's talk about pushing. So when we look at push, we have both horizontal push. So this would be like push up, bench press, chest press, incline press, decline press, anything like that. And then we have vertical pressing. All right, so that's all push pattern. That's all pushing movements. So it's an easier way to kind of group your workouts together if you think in patterns. So we got squat pattern, we got push pattern. Now let's look at the pull. The pull is the exact same thing. The pull, I can horizontally pull and I can vertically pull. Okay, that needs to be in the program. Now, if you have bands or a pull-up bar or anything like that, this is all great, but I always want to coach to the lowest denominator, and the lowest denominator right now is no equipment. Okay. Kate, are you with me?
Yeah, I am. And what I really love about this is even with my degree and my, certifications in fitness, it's still overwhelming to try to think of all of the different kinds of exercises that you can do. And this is so simple to just think, okay, have I done this pattern?
Yeah.
Have I done that pattern? And then you've checked off that you've gotten a really good, complete workout, because otherwise you can just throw random stuff together and realize that, you haven't really worked all of your muscles in that. So, and you're getting your range of motion all at the same time. So
Athletes will typically want to do this, what they're good at. They'll always kind of tend to the exercises that they're the best at. And then they get really good at those exercises, but they don't want to do the stuff that they're not so good at. Again, opportunities. No one's watching right now. Practice the stuff you're not that good at. So where do we leave off?
Can you show us the, so we did pull, I think people know what lunge is. Hinge would be like deadlift, right?
Real quick with the lunge this is where we get into the 3 patterns. So with lunging, I would want you to definitely, this is my small little gym. I would want you to lunge this way, going forward. I would want you to lunge lateral, and then I would want you to lunge with some type of rotation, because rotation is where you get power. And that has to be a component. And we'll talk about that down at number 6, but lunging is the most athletic thing that you can be doing. And lateral lunging with even small amounts of weight can really build some good strength to later on help you with speed, agility, and quickness. So lunging is a great thing right now and you can do it with a lot of low weight items. You could lunge all the way up the stairs. You could lunge, I don't know if I'd lunge down the stairs. All right, let's talk about hinge real quick. Hinge in simple would be deadlift. Okay, it'd be deadlift style movements. Any maximum, I kind of separate the two between what's squat and what's hinge. Squat, maximum knee and maximum hip. Maximum knee and maximum hip flexion. Hinge movements or deadlift movements is just maximum hip. So it'd be like deadlift, kettlebell swings, single leg, anything where you're hinging at the hips. Needs to be in the program. Your hips produce power. You want to come out of this, if you're an athlete, having really strong hips. This is an opportunity. And then number 6 is rotation. Now rotation is almost every single sport has a component of rotating. So I know we got lacrosse players on here. I know we got soccer players on this call. I know we got probably some football players that are looking at like, okay, what do I do for this fall coming up? Are we even going to have a season? All this stuff. Opportunity right now, folks. We have all sorts of different athletes on this, but every single one of them has to develop a core. And when we look at rotation actually happens at the hip. It does not happen at the lumbar spine. So we want to be creating exercises, and I want to invite everybody to check out my YouTube page. I have over 400, 500 now, some videos.
At least.
And literally, I'm telling you, literally, it's almost like I was prepared for the COVID. I've been doing the work. Is just go to the search and type up any one of these patterns, and you're going to find exercises on that YouTube page. It's Coach Chris Giesking at YouTube. And
we'll send those out. Chris, can you real quick, while you're talking about rotate, just because this kind of came up and I think we have time to touch on it real quick. Yeah. Without going into too much detail, can you just talk about the the stable, mobile, stable?
Oh yeah.
Because that kind of came up when you were talking about rotate. And I'm just thinking right now, most of the athletes I know are dealing with coming back from ACL. And I know that when you come back, when you tear an ACL, they usually come back to you if you have a good doctor, and they'll tell you, yeah, you have your hips were tight or had limited mobility. And so that's why your knee went when you have a non-contact ACL tear. So yeah, if you want to talk about those joints and that, how one's supposed to be mobile, one's supposed to be stable.
Okay, so kind of just to finish up is if you start from your feet and work all the way up your body, okay? So I had a whiteboard here for a reason. Can you see that?
I think we need to go back and stop sharing your screen so it's bigger.
Okay. Let me stop share.
There
Can you see me now?
Yep.
Okay, sweet. So
I
I've got the whiteboard. Can you read that?
Win the day.
In the day, baby. Okay. Happy face. You see that?
I also see a stormtrooper. There's
Are you making fun of my house?
next to all of the snowboards.
People are like, okay, he's got snowboards, he's got a bunch of plants. Hey, the air in this place is really good. Okay. That's the human body, right?
That is fantastic.
Yeah, all right. So starting with your feet, they need to be stable. Your foot, your arch of your foot. If any of you guys have, there you are. If any of you guys have flat feet, I would want to work on my foot arch and balance during this time. Perfect opportunity. So for you that are struggling with balance, I want you to take a look at your foot. And here's how you get stability at your foot. Is if this is your foot, you want to think of it as a tripod. Got it? So your foot needs to be stable. Your ankle needs to be mobile. Your knee needs to be stable. Your hip needs to be mobile. Your core needs to be stable. Your T-spine needs to be mobile. Your shoulder joint, your scapula first needs to be stable, but your actual shoulder joint needs to be mobile. And then it goes stable, mobile. So do you see how that goes all the way up the body? It's stable, mobile, stable, mobile, stable, mobile. It's called the joint by joint approach. And if you can just keep the joints that should be mobile, mobile, and the joints that should be stable, stable. And I know there's an asterisk in there. There's a what about this and what about that. But just for the most part, all the way up the body, stable, mobile, that, and you can train like that, you will be a very successful athlete. So let's go back to this, Kate.
All right. So let's do, what are we at? We got to do locomote, and then let's go into planes of motion, and then we'll do fit.
All right. Keep me on track.
All right, we're good. Finish up locomote, and then we'll.
All right. So the last fundamental movement of the human body is anything where we're moving. All right. So locomotion is we are made to move. We are made to run. We are made to walk. Whether that's walking, carrying, jogging, running, sprinting, any form of that is locomotion. And that is a fundamental movement pattern. So when we look at someone's run, you always can tell a really good athlete from not so good, I guess, just on how they move and how they run. So we want to look at running and walking and moving as a skill. Just don't go beat the pavement. Looking at it as a skill.
I think, you know, one of the things that we recommend that you do is either for yourself or for your coach, do this with your athletes, is have them write down this list, you know, the squat, push, pull, lunge, whatever, and then have them circle the ones they do on a regular basis. And what you're going to find is a lot of exercise programs, especially written by new trainers or when people write them for themselves, tend to be really heavy on 2 or 3 of these and kind of neglect some of the other ones. You also have people who they just love to deadlift. You know, they absolutely love to deadlift. And my daughter's kind of one of those people. She loves to deadlift. She loves to PR on that, and but doesn't work as much on her squat. Doesn't work as much on the pull. So kind of circling the ones you do a lot and putting a little check mark next to the ones that you need to add back into your workout to make sure you're getting kind of that complete workout. And then Chris, if you want to go into that 3 planes of motion and why that's so important for an athlete, because I know we all tend to, old school bodybuilding was all sagittal plane, right? So you can kind of go into that a little bit.
Okay, so we have 3 planes of motion. The first plane of motion is, think of it as I have a wall right here and a wall right here. Anything that can happen down this tunnel is sagittal plane. Okay, I can squat inside these walls. I can bench press inside these walls. I can lift things over my head inside these walls. I can pull things down. I can lunge forward, but I'm always kind of just going this way. Now, if you take a look at how you've been working out in the past, is that a representation of how you work out? Is you always are doing something right here? So what I want to invite you to do, and I think a lot of you really good coaches out there have already probably been doing with your clients or your athletes is moving in this frontal plane. So now imagine a wall right in front of me and a wall behind me. And now the hallway is this way, and I need to move lateral. So now this brings out, okay, what do I need to do inside this plane? So I can do the lunges, I can do the rotations, I can do pulls, I can do holds, I can do side planks, I can do all of these different variations that challenge the obliques, challenge the lateral hips, challenge some of these side bending movements that are so athletic, and sometimes they just get neglected. Now here's the thing, when we go back to that symmetry way down at the bottom, when we talk about this again, and we go up to down here at the bottom, we look at this needs to be balanced. So if you're not training in that lateral plane or that frontal plane of motion, side to side lateral movement, if you're not training there, what you end up getting is too strong right down the middle, and you're not getting strong here. And this is where, if you young female athletes are out there, this is where we see a high incidence rates of ACL tears, is because we did too much training in one plane of motion. And then I'm going to get to it here in a second, is tempo training, slowing down training, speeding something up and then being able to slow it down. That's another big component of that lateral plane of motion. And that's why doing like side shuffles to complete stops are really good drills to do. Doing bounding and jumping and all sorts of different agility drills that are in multiple directions is really good for athletes to be doing. So let's go back down to.
So Chris, just touching on, since you said that the tempo, and I know we've probably touched on this later, but when we're dealing with going from a gym atmosphere with huge dumbbells and access to bigger weights, and you go home and you might have nothing, or you might have very limited, is tempo a way that we can kind of simulate lifting more weight, by changing how slowly or quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. Like right now, no one has access to big equipment, or maybe very few people do. So we are going to make this hard to get the resistance, time under tension. If we're going to get this this idea of like breaking down muscle and being able to rejuvenate that to bigger muscle gains and all the athletic components. If we're going to be able to do that with not a lot of resistance, we're going to have to create our own resistance. And what that's going to look like is time under tension through tempo. So an example of that would be like just the air squat. So you'll see in the program I have this, but let's just say I'm doing a squat and gravity is down, right? So what I want to do is a tempo on the way down. So I want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause for 1, 2, and then back up. And that would be 1 repetition. So that would be an example. That'd be an example of tempo training and how we can build that into almost any program at home right now.
All right, awesome. And I know one of the things that we talked about was how athletes don't move in one plane of motion. For the most part, and you had, when we talked earlier, described this really well, that typically we are going from side to side or transferring weight from one leg to the other, that sort of thing. So being able to work out in all those planes of motion so that you're ready for it, your joints are ready for it, it's going to make you more explosive and, and prepare your joints for that. So I'm just trying to look at, well, yeah, go ahead and do your fit.
Well, this kind of brings me into, let me share the screen here. Share, boom. Getting good at this now.
He's getting it.
Oh boy, watch out, folks. I'm a pro now. All right, so I'm going to be able to show you how to build a workout, and then I'm going to show you an example of a home workout that you could be doing right now with either very, very little equipment or body weight. Okay, so are we good on time, Kate?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. All right, so build your fitness. FITT. You guys can read Frequency. How many times a week am I going to work out? How many times a day am I going to work out? What is my fitness capacity right now with frequency? So we'll get into later on how important sleep and recovery is, but how often are you working out is the question. How often do you need to work out? Okay. Now, we don't want to, just a little side note, we don't want to run down our body so much that we're working out so much that it's actually taking away from our health.
Don't
I know a
get
lot of,
COVID.
yeah, the COVID's going to get you.
Don't
So,
work out into COVID.
yeah, you don't want to run your body down so your immune system is very low. So there's going to be a balance between just right. And here's an easy one. If you're living in a constant state of soreness, you're overtraining. Simply. You're doing too much. If you're waking up every single morning, you're like, oh my God, that workout yesterday, you're overtraining. You're overtraining.
If you have an Apple Watch, or some of the Fitbits do this as well, they will actually track your resting heart rate. It checks your heart rate first thing in the morning. So if you're able to do that, a great way to see if you're overtraining is to see the trend. And if your resting heart rate starts to rise, that usually means you're overtraining. It could also mean you're dehydrated. The other one is if you are using a heart rate monitor, which I recommend, that's how I do all my training, is to be able to see that your heart rate is going up higher and faster than it typically does, doing the same exercise. That'll also show you that your body's a little bit fatigued and you might need a rest day.
Yeah, there's going to be people that like the numbers, and for that, I definitely would recommend that. And then there's going to be people that are just kind of like, they go off feel.
Yep.
I'm a go off feel guy. Wake up in the morning. Yep. All right, I'm good. But not everyone's going to be in tune with their body. So be able to have a schedule, I think, is important, even if you feel good, you know. And we'll get to that. So let's talk about intensity. How hard are you working out? Do you have a hard day, then an easy day, then a rest day? Or is it hard, then rest day? So what does that intensity look like? And intensity can both be during the workout, but it can also be intensity inside that frequency. Okay, so how much volume are you getting? How many sets and reps, you know, so to speak? So let's move down to time. How long are we working out? How long is each component? Is the warm-up really short, or is the warm-up really long? Are you working on your mobility? Are you working on your flexibility? And then how long is the actual workout? How long are we actually working? Okay, so sometimes I'll see people come into the gym, they're there for 2 hours, but they really didn't do anything for 2 hours. They did kind of about a half hour.
I've seen those people. I've seen those people.
You know what they are?
But...
Here's how you know if someone's working hard in the gym. Here's an example.
Hey,
that guy, the guy that's on their phone between every set. Okay, there's a big difference between doing that and staying focused. I recommend just putting on music, putting on headphones, and staying zoned in. And another great thing to do with your workouts, if you have a whiteboard, like I do, I have like 7 whiteboards.
How many whiteboards do you have?
Yeah, I think I got like 10 whiteboards around here. Just kidding. I have like 2, but conveniently. So big one, small one, whatever. But these little things like this would work really good to write up your workout. I'm going to get into detail what this is going to look like. But if you look at day A and day B on there, if you can see that, there you go with the reflection. There you go. Day A, squat, lunge, pushing movements. Day B, hinge movements, pulling movements, and rotation movements. And then both days could be, some type of locomotion, whether that's walking, carrying, jogging, running, speed, agility, and quickness, sprinting, sports-specific type movement skills. That type of thing could be in both, and then you take a rest day. But every day might have, including in the warm-up, is we got range of motion drills. We got some type of range of motion work. Okay, work on your mobility and flexibility. And then 3 planes of motion like we're talking about. Like, don't be scared to do things that you're not that good at. That's key right now. You need to work on what you're not that great at, so then you can come out of this and coach is like, dude, what'd you do?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
When
like
you guys go back,
the COVID did you good.
it will be glaringly obvious who put
Like,
this work in and who
oh
didn't.
my gosh,
And
yes.
even if you're not lifting heavy, you're going to be prepared to actually go out and lift heavier without having lifted heavy to make you get better. I mean, it's really kind of cool how your body knows how flexible it is. It knows how stable it is. And when it doesn't feel stable, it will only allow you to lift a certain amount of weight. So it's the way it was described to me is it's kind of like trying to run with socks on. You know, your body is going to be cautious, so you won't run as fast with socks on because it knows it could fall. Same thing with weight. It's not going to lift a really heavy weight if it knows it's unstable. So working on this other stuff is really important. Let's actually show them one of those sample workouts so that they can see. This is what it looks like when you combine the 7 functional movement patterns with 3 planes of motion while also covering your flexibility, mobility, and your strength balance and putting that all together into a workout. So go ahead and pull up that.
Yep. All right. So just to kind of segue into that, I'm going to pull that work up here in a second. But the last one, I didn't want to skip it for people.
No, go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, is the type and technique of the movements that you're going to be practicing in your movement practice. So what type of workout is it? Is it a stability workout? Is it an endurance workout? Is it a strength workout? Is it a power workout? Is it a skills sport specific type workout? So there's going to be all these different things. You know, everybody's going to be in a different phase, but just remember, it's always going to start out. Everyone's going to start out at stability, then they move up to strength work, and then they go to power, and then they just recycle it. Even the elite pros that are out there right now, and guess what? They're in the same boat you guys are. They should be going down to that stability phase because they're not being able to go to gyms. They're not being able to do all these things. So even the pros have to take a look at this and go, okay, what can I do to be move really well and have stability, build a foundation. Then hopefully we can get out of our houses and back to life. And then I'm primed and ready to do strength training. So everybody coming out of this thing should be really stable and mobile. That's what we want to go here. So moving on to the next thing. All right, now, can you see this?
I can see it.
You can see it. All right, so this is a sample workout that I made for you guys. And I know there's a lot on this, but I'll go into it. Kate, we doing good on time?
Yeah, we're good. I think you're gonna have to make it bigger because it's blurry.
Okay, I just wanted them to see the entire thing.
Okay.
So that's the workout sheet, folks. Movement practice, day A and day B. Okay. Now, literally everybody could be on this program right here, and I would say do it for about 3 weeks. You could go day A, day B, take a day rest. Day A, day B, take a day rest. Now, this is just a sample, and some of this stuff is going to make sense. So let me dive a little bit deeper. So type right up here. What is the type of movement that we're going to be doing? What is your sport? What is your goal? What is your purpose there? What is the priority? I think that's important that you see that. Now, if you were to write that down, if you were to have these sheets and write that down, it would be a great reminder every single time you worked out to be like, okay, remember the goal, remember the purpose, remember what we're doing here, remember what we're trying to accomplish.
Can you give an example of what would go in that, just to kind of clarify, like if...
Okay, movement practice type, I would say stability.
Okay.
That's what we're working on. Priority, 3 planes of motion. Priority, my shoulder thingy, my hip thing I got going on, my you know, something customized to the athlete is how I would do this in a client scenario. You know, I would walk my clients through this and I'd say, okay, the priority for you is to fix that knee that's been bothering you. So that's the priority. So all of these exercises are gonna have kind of like a tune of, all right, don't do any damage to the knee, get strong everywhere else, but we're going to do some specific exercises for the knee. You know what I mean? And if you're not injured, then it's kind of like, okay, priority, be badass when this COVID thing goes away.
That's a good priority.
Hey, that's what it is. All right, so let's look at this. Day A, Let me scroll in just a little bit. The warm up, it looks super long, but honestly, if I was coaching this, it flows really well. So I know a lot of people on this have done things like this, but I'll just go into kind of detail on what this might look like. So every time you see a letter and then a number with it, that's a group, or think of it as a circuit. So A1 and A2, that would be a circuit. So we're going to go 3 sets of the 3D stretch. Now, any of these exercises that you see on here, simply go to my YouTube page. See how I did that? I got everybody. Yeah.
That's a good plug. They're free, you guys. That's all free.
And you got to subscribe. All right. So you go there and you just go to the search, 3D stretch, and boom, it's going to pop up. I do 3 of those per side. This is a mobility drill. This is like, it's right on my front page. What's the pretzel stretch? Well, I'm glad you asked. Go to the YouTube page.
I do want to know. I may have to go look that up because I'm curious.
Pretzel will get you.
Sounds painful.
No, it's a really good full body mobility drill that can really get your body in symmetry both right and left. When we're talking.
How long is this workout that you have on here, for example?
I think honestly, the first time you go through this, it's going to be a lot of, okay, go to YouTube, do this, go to, it's going to be, right. It's going to take you a bit. Okay. But what are you doing? You have time. How
do you know? We're just sitting around.
All right. Maybe not. All right. Flexibility highways. Do you want me to demonstrate?
I think let's go through let's just get through it so they can see what this is, and then
all right,
we'll
so
see where we are.
All of this, like I said, on the YouTube, if you can't find it, message me. I'd love to help you.
All right, so we've got day A on the left, day B on the right. So let's say, for example, Monday's day A, Tuesday's day B, Wednesday is rest, Thursday you're back on day A, and it just keeps repeating all the way through. And that's kind of make sure you're hitting everything, which I love.
This is designed of everything that we just got done talking about. I have everything built into the warm up. If you look at A through E, this is going to be 3 planes of motion. This is going to look at all the different patterns. It's going to be a full body warm up. And if you look at day A to day B, they're very, very similar. I want to have some similar exercises in there so you're not like, oh, I got to learn this again. So once you learn the day A and day B, you're smooth. It'll just flow.
And you can really keep these, about 4 weeks typically, if you like it, I mean, without having to even change it up too much, or Absolutely. You can replace.
So according to the National Academy of Sports Medicine, I would definitely be changing up your workout routines about every 3 to 4 weeks, because that's where gains really happen. You gotta do something more than once. You gotta stress that pattern out more than once to get that gain. So it's a good thing to kind of stick to a program for about 3 weeks and then be switching it up. How do we switch it up? That's a great question.
If you say so yourself.
Right on. No, how you're going to switch it up is you're going to switch it up with, let's scroll down to here and let's look at the strength portion. Now I broke this up for day A, just to what we were talking about before. We got squat pattern, we have lunge pattern, and we have push pattern. Okay. So your strength is going to, I just put 4 sets. Now, is it 4 sets for everybody? It could be 2 sets. I wanted to just make a workout that everybody would go, okay, that's challenging. I can back off from there, or I can do more from there. So I kind of wanted to be friendly when I made this type of thing. So just follow me. Not a lot of equipment, right? Totally get it.
Yep.
If you have weight, I would do squat jumps. You could do that with a kettlebell. You could do that with a dumbbell. Or you could just regress it down to air squats.
Well, for squat jumping, I'm not doing that with a kettlebell unless nobody's looking.
Yeah, but we probably got some we got some beasts on here. I know we got some go-getters.
I get it.
So let's say I'm going to jump up in
here. But good to know that you can modify that to whatever.
Exactly. And if you want to go deeper, in all of this, we're going to give you my contact information at the end of this, and this will be all, replayable as well. So we want to make sure that you have the availability to reach out to me, reach out to Kate, and be able to do something with this. But just looking at these, we have sets, we have reps, and then we have the tempo in which you do it. Okay, so for this squat jump, I'm gonna jump up in the air, okay? At the bottom, once I land and I'm in that transition period for I'm just about ready to do another jump, I'm gonna hold that at the bottom for 3 seconds.
Are you holding loaded?
So if I'm strong enough to do that, I might just jump up and then hold down here. 1, 2, 3. Jump up, hold, 1, 2, 3. And just repeat that for that set of 10.
I thought for a second that you were going to levitate for 3 seconds before coming back down. And I thought that was gonna be really cool.
There's some wild stuff happening right now in the world.
Hold it in the air for 3 seconds before you come back down.
Right on. Okay, so after levitation, you're gonna go move down to A2, and that's gonna be a chest press. Now, I don't know what everyone has for equipment, but I could say chest press could be push-up. So you just cross that chest press out and just do push-up. Now, look at the tempo. It's 4 seconds to get all the way down to the bottom, and then you're gonna hold at the bottom for 2, and then push up in 1. So that tempo is 4, 2, 1. 4 seconds to get all the way down to the bottom, hold 2, not resting on the ground, and then drive up in 1. Okay, let's move to lateral lunge, same thing. 10 and 10, 10 to the left, 10 to the right. 2, 2, and 2. It means that I'm gonna have 2 seconds to find the bottom range of my lunge. I'm gonna pause down here for 2 and then come back up. And then I would do the other side. Take 2 seconds to get down, find the end range, hold for 2 seconds, and then come back up. And that would be an example of a lateral lunge. And that's working that frontal plane of motion in which we're talking about.
What I really like about this, and just to kind of reiterate, this is a sample day. Now you could take this and go with it, or you can replace your squat, lunge, and push with any other squat, lunge, and push. You're just keeping in mind, hey, I want to make sure I have all of the planes of motion in there. So, you know, like Chris was saying, your chest press could be a push-up. If you don't have any weights, but you have a toddler or a brother or sister that can sit on you, great. You know, that there's your weighted, you know, chest press in a push-up manner, if you have bands or something like that. So because of the way this is set up, it's really easy to just insert whatever it is that you have access to or that you prefer to do.
You know what's going to be great about all this is people are going to be so creative. Like the creativity that people are going to come out of this thing, I mean, it's going to be awesome. There's going to be new technologies that we don't even know about.
Oh yeah, something good's going to happen.
This is me staying positive, folks.
I like it. All right, so what are we at? So we got lateral lunges.
Yeah, so then I just do A1, A2, A3, that's set 1. Then I do A1, A2, A3, that's set 2. Boom, boom, boom. It's just like strength circuit training. Everyone get it?
So are we getting a metabolic conditioning or a cardio workout?
You'll get a metabolic effect from that. Now, ability level, we need to talk about rest. How much do I rest in between sets? So if you're an athlete and you're like, okay, I like the workout, it's pretty good. But I need to be endurance for my sport. Then I say you treat this with very little rest and get that metabolic component, get that endurance component. As long as form and quality is there, you could do A1, A2, A3, go again right away. You see what I'm saying? You could set
Are they supersetted? So is it usually, unless you have some reason that you need to rest because you're beginning, it's going to be like a superset of A1, A2, A3, and then it's always a rest or no rest, but it's done all together?
If you're in stability phase or just starting out, you're going to want to rest up to a minute or 90 seconds in between each exercise. Okay, if you're just starting out. Now, if you're an experienced athlete, you could shave that down to about a minute to 45 seconds. If you're someone who's really looking for the endurance, you're going to superset this and then rest at the end of the set. So like you go A1, A2, A3, then rest. A1, A2, then rest. You know, so now it's like I used to train a lot of hockey players, or I still do, I guess, online. Hockey players are only on the ice for about a minute. And then they go, what? They sit. So what if a hockey player designed their their whole workout like this is, how long am I on the ice? Okay, I'm going to do this for about that time, and then I'm going to rest as if I was on the bench waiting for my line to recycle and for me to go back out on the ice. You see what I'm saying? Now you're customizing this training to the sport specific of which you are. So this is perfect for a hockey player or, you know, anything. Honestly, you just got to be creative and think. And this is like a perfect opportunity for you to learn as well.
Perfect. Well, so we've got our day 8, and then so you're doing the first group 4 times or however many is right for you. Then you're doing the second group, then you're doing the third group, and then you would move down to do the conditioning at the bottom, which is your locomotion, right?
Yeah, and locomotion, I just put there, you know, I put 5 hill sprints. I'm not saying how long the hill is. I don't know how big the hill is.
It might be your stairs if you can't go outside.
It might be. I got a bunch of workouts online you can take a peek at, but 5 hill sprints, check it out like this. Again, going back to the sport specific thing. What's a normal sprint in your sport? How long do you actually sprint before you start to jog like a soccer player, and then sprint and then jog and then sprint and then jog? Like, what does that look like? Try and customize that as best you can to your sport specific, you know, type training. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
And then on the day B, I have a farmer carry, which can be, you don't have to just carry it, you know, down here. You could carry something right here. You could carry something overhead. You could carry something on one shoulder. I mean, you could be very diverse in this type of training. But the idea with the conditioning is to have one day that was fast twitch muscle fibers, and then have the second day be something like farmer carry. You're not going to use a lot of fast twitch muscle fiber. You're going to use more stamina, endurance, durability, those type of, you know, slow twitch muscle fibers. And then you
I saw a video today of somebody who was farmers carrying their very large dog. So people are getting very creative. Yeah, the dog looked annoyed, but she carried him and she did squats and lunges, and then farmers carried, like, she had one dog here and one dog here.
I mean, if you got like a small dog, like, you know, put it in something and like put it on start doing lunges around the house. You could do this whole workout with your corgi or something.
Backpacks are really good too. You can fill backpacks with all sorts of stuff, and you can carry 2 backpacks. So if you don't have the weights, there are definitely ways in the house you can get super creative. And if you're in a team, then it's really cool to make it a challenge, have people record different ways that they got creative to come up with weights, how they came to adapt, and then just share it at the end of the day. It's a great way to stay connected and also to hold each other accountable.
You know, that brings up a good point. Athletes need other athletes to push themselves. And this is going to be one of those things where you don't have that competition. So I think, you know, maybe starting like a Facebook group or just an online or just like a phone thread with your buddies and say, hey, I did this workout. What time did you get, or how much did you do? I mean, if you're craving the competition, or if you're an athlete that needs that, I highly suggest starting some groups and starting some chats, and then get on the kind of the same type of programming. So then you can talk about that kind of as like a after action review or something like that.
And I really like incorporating like AMRAPs, you know, as many rounds as possible, and kind of, you know, here's how many I did in a team format. It's kind of cool. It gives them a little bit of a competition, or doing it for time and just seeing where people end up. And, you know, not every day, but I think maybe once a week throwing that in is really cool to get people excited about working out.
As long as quality of movement is primary priority in this. I mean, let's take a look at it. Like, don't beat your body down and be sloppy. Like, this is an opportunity to really be graceful and really be the athlete that you always wanted to be. And it starts from not just working harder, it's working smarter for sure.
Yeah, well, awesome. Well, we have just a couple minutes, and I just want to, I know, Chris, you're going to touch on this, but just to kind of direct people towards the health compass, which is, you know, what Chris really focuses his workouts around and his programs for his clients. I've used it with him as well, and being able to attack things from all sides. I know for me personally, I was struggling to kind of move forward in my fitness, and I realized I was working only on exercise or only on nutrition. The wellness is a huge piece. Sleep is also another huge piece. And so our plan is to, you know, I know Chris has a business partner as well, Cindy. And so the plan is to bring them in and to follow up on all parts. So we did exercise today, but to have them go into nutrition, go into wellness, and go into sleep, and how you can get a better quality of sleep as well. So just, you know, if you want to give a short elevator pitch on this real quick on what this is, and then I'll see if anybody has any questions.
Okay, so if you missed the beginning, I'm just going to touch back on this. None of this works. None of your training really works unless the entire engine is running right. And I don't know how I can say it, but it's not like any one of these weighs more than the other. Like, you can't say that nutrition weighs more than sleep, because you both need them. You need food and you need sleep. So you can't really say that one weighs more than the other. And we all need to think right. And that's wellness. And I'll be talking about my business partner, Cindy Boyum. She's a subject matter expert, not only with the youth, but just, she's got all sorts of systems to help people out in these difficult times. And she's been doing it for quite a while. So I'm really excited to be working with her on this project, but everybody's got to move as well. So I look at this as not just, you know, north, south, east, west. I look at this as NEWS, which spells news. Let's change the news right now. Everybody needs to change the news. NEWS. This is
Turn off the news.
This is the news program. So if I were to break it down, I would say everybody has a lifestyle of nutrition on how you eat, how you go about eating. Everybody has quality of their food. Are you eating processed food, or are you eating real food? You know, I can go deep into that, and we will later on, but then everybody needs to take a look at their energy plan. How many calories do I need? But more importantly, what's the micronutrition? Everyone talks about, you know, carbs, proteins, and fats and what ratio they should have. I take a look at it as, what's the micronutrition? What is in that protein? Is it a good source of protein? Is it the right protein for me? What type of carbohydrates? Are they sugars? Are they starches? So definitely got to look at these three factors. Here we go again with exercise. Everyone's got a lifestyle of movement. Everyone has quality of movement. If you're injured, you definitely know. And then everyone has a different fitness plan. What is your fitness plan? And then wellness. This is where Cindy really comes in. What's your lifestyle and how you go about thinking, on what's your attitude right now? Are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Are you all these things that really go into mental wellness? What's your quality of what you're listening to, engaging with, how you act? What's your self-talk? All of these things? That's the quality of how you're thinking. Then everybody has to have some type of an ethos or mindset. And then lastly, probably the one that people take for granted, but is so crucial to especially athletes. Athletes do not gain muscle just from working out. Athletes gain muscle at night when they are able to recover, and their body actually goes through the hormonal process to give them the ability to recover. So we have a lifestyle on how we sleep. When are you going to bed at night? Are you on this thing before you go to bed? You should have a bedtime for this, especially athletes. Shouldn't be on their phone all the time, especially at night. I know it's tough right now. Everyone's online. But what's your lifestyle with rest? What's your quality of your sleep? Are you waking up a lot? Are you waking up and like you can't get back to bed? What's your quality of your rest? And it's not just sleep. It's also, how do you manage your stress? And then lastly, rejuvenation. What is your rejuvenation plan? What is your schedule that you're doing? So guys, there's so much here. There's so much to learn. There's so much to take away. Hopefully that's just a snapshot of kind of how I view health right now. And I really do mean with sincerity that you need to take a look at the entire compass to be, I think, your best and you know, live your best life as far as health goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's awesome. It's very simplified way of being able to really dial into what you need to focus on. So
Yeah.
awesome system. Definitely will do some videos so you can cover each of those. Chris has some awesome resources, you guys. So check out his YouTube page. Shoot him an email. I'm going to send out a follow-up email to everyone with his contact info, because he has tips on how to get better sleep. He has tips on nutrition. He has, his business partner as well that can really dig into wellness. And I think that's something that we need right now. If you have any questions, you can pop it into the chat box. Otherwise, we're going to send something out with that specific workout, as well as just the other files that you saw that show the 7 functional movement patterns, some blank sheets so that you can fill out your own workouts. You can pass them on to your athletes. Yeah, go ahead. Did you have a...
Yeah, what I was just going to say is that if you want to get a hold of me immediately, I was just going to give you my cell phone, and you can text me and we can set up a Zoom call. We can set up, some type of, meeting.
Put it in the chat box to all panelists and attendees, and then they should all see it.
Okay.
And go out. And then there'll also be a follow-up email that has everything in there as well. So hopefully you guys picked up something on how you can take that gym workout and turn it into something that's going to work in your house, whether you have equipment or not, and actually hopefully be a really more total approach than what you might have been doing already.
Well, yeah, the biggest thing is just take a look at the overall picture. This is something that if I was going to be a durable athlete, if I was going to be an aging athlete, if I wanted to be an athlete for the rest of my life, you're going to address those 4 things for sure. At some point you will.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much for helping me out with this. I love it. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. It will be available for replay. We'll resend it out. And yeah, thanks for joining us. And everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully we're all back in our season soon.
I know. Yep. Cheers, everybody. Win the day.